you mentioned to us, that you were going to actually have Poke-Aim MD on your channel. Who are some of your heroes in the draft space, and what are some things you've learned from them over time?
This was a personal topic request from you. Yep. I want to ask you, so for those who are looking to get into draft, to get a piece of this camaraderie, this community, this fun whole thing with Draft League, what should newcomers do to prepare, and what can they expect?
I have been waiting to finally get this off my chest because
this is all you. We're stepping back.
But one of the biggest all-time pros about Draft League is obviously a great example of you guys, friendship. A friendship just grows super instantly quick. God, the most difficult question a Pokemon fan can answer.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Skill Link podcast, where we chat and get to know passionate content creators, competitive players, and all the voices who continue to make the Pokemon community incredible. And today's guest is a veteran of multiple draft leagues, namely the BBR, BBL, JJDL, Scrambles, anything you name it. From power rankings to team analysis, he brings the best to Draft League. It's our friend, Thriller96. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. Had a pretty good session of battles. Doing better. Been on my break, but obviously been doing a little bit of playing just so I don't got no rust on me right there.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
So much. Now, Josh and I mean, it was kind of fun. We've been getting to know the friends from the BBL or BBR, I believe it is, and kind of getting to know all you guys. And then you hopped in our stream, and we got to chat more. And we're super pumped that we can get into the kind of a deeper conversation with you, what you're all about, and your expertise in draft. Because I love seeing the points of view from all over. Josh and I are kind of hobby drafters ourselves, and so it's kind of just fun to learn from the guys who know what they're doing. But before we kind of get into the main bulk of your knowledge and your genius and stuff like that, we want to get to know you outside of Pokemon, and kind of get to know what outside of Pokemon, what are your interests and your hobbies? What takes up your time?
So unfortunately, I am kind of the workaholic. I work with my uncle in a lot of places. Right. You name a job, I can pretty much just do about everything because I work actually at a country club kitchen.
Yep.
Oh, very cool.
Cool.
I've been doing cooking since I was 16, and as of right now, I'm 28, so we're coming up on 12 years of cooking right now.
Wow.
Which has been a lot. I've worked in some street restaurants at first, then I did the first country club I did, then I jumped ship and kind of did like this campground kitchen, private-ish area kind of thing. Then I went and worked at kind of essentially like a diner of some sorts a little bit, and then led to my current country club job, and then eventually a retirement home job, which was a super easy job, but I didn't really enjoy most of the people I was working with, and I was kind of being forced to do stuff that I didn't really want to do, like forced to be working when I was injured, forced to work while I was sick, and then eventually left and went back to the country club. It was the best decision I ever made. Country clubs don't have the main problem is there is going to be a lot of rich snobs being like, do you not know how much money I make? I'm an important individual here. And it gets annoying. But there's a lot of great people I love working with. It's obviously my uncle, some good coworkers I've gotten to talk to. And there's some members that just obviously show their appreciation. I get the chance to talk with some of the kids. The kids find me cool because I wear cool Pikachu hat and stuff like that.
There you go.
Honestly, I love like making people smile, and with a cook, you get to do that every single day. And
absolutely,
that's super cool, dude.
That's
so
awesome.
I'm curious, what kind of food do you make then? Like, is it like a specific style, or is there multiple?
Yes and no. So the way that works is that during the off season, we kind of do your normal like summer dishes, like some burgers, chicken sandwiches, salads, all that stuff for the most part. And then kind of when the winter season rolls in, it's kind of just slow. You just kind of do a menu-based stuff with what you want. And then occasionally we have the one day of the week where we're going to do a super fancy fine dining. So you're looking at like your ribeyes, your seared scallops, and all this type of fancy stuff, the super expensive stuff. And it's not as bad. There are some nights and stuff like that are really rough. I actually have a story here with. So like last year, it was New Year's Eve, and we did another one of this, but this one's always like a ton more busier because everyone's going to be staying till like midnight getting hammered in the bar before they get their food and stuff. We had about 80-ish to 90-ish people that whole night. And the problem was our head chef was sick like 2 days beforehand, and he couldn't make it in there. And the day of, our sous chef got tragically sick. That eventually I found out he went to the hospital because of his sickness. So it was down to me, who never ran a line when these type of events happened before, a guy who's barely experienced, and a woman that hasn't really done it much as well. So you got 3 people that are never worked the line. So it's gonna be kind of chaotic, but ended up not being too bad. I ended up getting like an $80 tip from one of the managers. Okay. And it was honestly a good.
Nice.
It made me appreciate when I see those guys do it. Like, damn, that's a lot harder than it looks.
Right.
But it was a good experience.
That's cool. That's really fun.
That's awesome, dude. I love to hear that. That like it's so cool to see, like, because I'm not gonna lie, that like chef was not on my bingo card today, and that's just such a cool thing where it's like to learn what other talents and things like that people have outside of Pokemon. So I love that.
It's amazing.
So great to learn more about you there, and someday maybe if I can ever afford a country club membership, we'll have to come try it out, or we should just do a big old draft league banquet and we can all try and make something together.
There you go.
We have in our draft league, we have a really good friend named Kelly who he likes to make like themed dishes. So like we'll have like slowpoke tail and stuff like that. And so it's always been a blast. Like we've had a variety. I can't remember all of them right now off the top of my head, but it's always been a blast. So maybe what we need to do is just get a bunch of draft leagues together and host a banquet and make some fun themed dishes. That'd be awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, so I guess speaking of the theme now, I mean, tell us about your Pokemon journey. Did you lean into the games growing up? Were you a TCG guy, anime, a little bit of everything?
We've got good stories here. So I did see the anime as a kid, but wasn't like 100% sold per se, but I would watch it because it was entertaining for me. Because children, we like anything that's colorful. But when it came to growing up, a really interesting fact with me is I never played any of the main series games until I was in middle school. The only games I grew up playing that were Pokemon was Stadium on the Nintendo 64 and Coliseum and XD Darkness on the Nintendo GameCube. And I will still say to this day that the XD Gale of Darkness at least was one of the best side Pokemon games ever created. And we need one more of those games out there. Come on, Game Freak.
I agree.
Video if I have to, man. Come on. But it wasn't until a friend of mine actually, because we had this cool thing in middle school. We had a game night, so we had the whole library to ourselves, and we got to bring in like Xbox, PS3s, Wii's, all that stuff, and cards, Game Boys, all that type of stuff, and just have one night to where we can just play the games. And my friend gave me his DS Lite, and I played Pokemon Fire Red. And I chose my boy Squirtle. And from that day forward, I got hooked. And then all of a sudden, as soon as my friend took his stuff back, I was like, no, I want to keep playing. Give me it back. Come on, let me just borrow it.
I lost it. I don't know what happened.
But eventually I got my own DS Lite, and I got Fire Red, and then I started playing all the games out of order, of course, but still ended up playing it and really fallen in love with it. And it was one of the best things ever, because now I've got plushies, I've got merchandise of it. I've been a big fan. It's honestly tied for my favorite video game series.
Very cool. That's awesome. What's the other series? I'm just curious.
Sonic the Hedgehog, baby.
Yeah, we're Sonic fans too. Always.
I've loved Sonic ever since I've seen him. My first ever Sonic game was Sonic Adventure for the GameCube.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sonic Adventure.
The only thing wrong with that game is Big the Cat.
Big the Cat. I know, dude. The gameplay for Big the Cat, it's a rough play, but yeah, Adventure and Adventure 2, like you said, alongside Pokemon, those are probably the two franchises, or I guess games specifically, that really tied my brother and I together. Our relationship's super solid, but it's mostly solid because of video games. And if I had to narrow it down to like 5 games that like define our relationship and tied us together forever, one of them is definitely one of the Sonic Adventures. You could do either one depending on what we're feeling, and then any Pokemon game depending on what we're feeling. So I'm right there with you.
100%.
100% agree with that. After this the interview. I'll send you over a video that's near and dear to mine and Josh's heart with the Sonic love. So you might have already seen it, but it's just one that I love. So, but kind of moving on to your expertise, kind of getting into your content specifically. We're curious. On our stream the other night, you mentioned to us, that you were going to actually have PokeAim MD on your channel for an interview, which is huge, because he's a legend. And we were just kind of curious to kind of get to know more, like who are some of your heroes in the draft space, and what are some things you've learned from them over time.
So we have a fun story here because it wasn't any of the big guns that really got me interested in draft.
Oh, really?
I eventually learned from them, but they weren't the ones that got me fully started in it. So back in we're talking I want to say the mid 2010 area, basically, essentially, where ORAS comes out. Mm-hmm. And Wi-Fi battling starts picking up as a new whole big stunt for itself. And a league dropped that was a league that no one saw coming. It was a league that was mostly just content creators. It was called the UCL.
Oh, yeah.
And I was watching a decent amount of some people here and there, but there was two people that always seemed to rewatch their seasons. Well, it eventually became 3, or 4 actually. But it was these 2 people, and they were just normal Pokemon tubers. They were Patters and Game Boy Loop. And I just watched them casually learn and have fun. And I was watching their battles, and I'm just thinking to myself, this is kind of cool. I eventually want to get into this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And then it led to me watching A-Drive. I watched his UCL run eventually, of course, and then eventually came when he did his Twitch Battle League that he uploaded. And he showed how he builds his teams, not obviously the main way he builds it, but the way he would do it for Showdown, Speed Drive. And he showed speed creeping, power creeping and stuff. And that's when it was boom. And I started learning that, and I started winning more. I eventually started winning some championships. So I would say I mostly learned the way I prep from A-Drive. And eventually I was watching people like Leo and Joey and just rewatching all their seasons and seeing what makes their mind tick to build these type of sets in and out of each week. And it was honestly, it was a really great experience. But yeah, it all pretty much started with people that weren't draft league players that really kind of got me this looks kind of cool. I want to get into it.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And Patters and Luke, they're not really in this space as much anymore either, but they still do battle videos and things like that. So it's still kind of fun to see the genesis of where you got your skill, and because I remember I learned about draft leagues from similar, is that same group Shady and Sacred. Those kind of folks and stuff like that, where they were doing draft leagues, and that's actually where Josh and I were working at the same job together, and we had a couple friends that were all really into Pokemon. I remembered watching them when I was younger. I was like, we should do a draft league like this, and it's something that I don't know. It's special. It's special to be able to kind of do something that your heroes were doing, but then also, like you said, learn from them and then use those skills to be able to become better and to get the game right.
It makes for a good time. The community is the best with it. And I want to bring this up before we forget. This was a personal topic request from you. I want to ask you. So for those who are looking to get into draft, to get a piece of this camaraderie, this community, this fun whole thing with Draft League, give us the pros, the cons. What should newcomers do to prepare, and what can they expect?
Okay, I have been waiting to finally get this off my chest because
this is all you. We're stepping back.
First off, I'm going to preface this with everyone watching. If you're a fan of Draft League and you've watched Draft League your whole life, you're a massive fan of all your favorite content creators and everything else like this, just know this is not an attack on everyone. It is to be openly honest. And I'm going to say stuff that people sometimes don't even want to purposely admit, whether it's on camera, off camera, or not. So just take it with a grain of salt. Just know this is just opinion-based. If you don't think I'm talking about you, awesome. If you think you are, well, I'm telling the truth. So some of the biggest cons that, especially if you guys really want to fully get into League, because I see about almost every single Joey server that people ask about that question, especially with his streams. But the biggest thing is going to be time zones. Time zones, I feel are they are arguably tied, but in my opinion, just slightly edge out as number one criteria in the biggest cons. Because obviously, there's going to be some people that live in Europe, people live in Australia. Like for people in Australia, it's either like a day behind or a day ahead when you schedule them from the Central Time Zone. I would speak from experience.
Yep.
It's really confusing to really get the time zones right. And, you always want to make your best to work with people's time zone. Then you're going to get those people that are like, nah, I don't want you to work with this time. You're going to work with my time zone. It's more better for me. And you just get people that are just not being fair about it. Like there were times I had to play against people that like lived in Mexico and Spain. I was kind of semi-forced to play like 2 a.m. I mean, it didn't matter. I won with a Shell Smash Torkoal with 5 kills. So, I mean, it was worth it to wake up at 2 a.m. for that. But it's just that there are some people that are not going to work with your time zones, and it gets really frustrating. And then they go like, whoa, why is he getting the 4th win? He messed up the schedule with me. He didn't say anything. And it just gets a lot of big complications and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And this is a thing I need everyone to understand, because this is what ties it, is going to be the critique people you see in your comment section.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you really want to get into Draft League, and just whether it's uploading or just doing your showdown games, you're going to get those people. I know people like Nexus get it a lot. I know a lot of people like A-Drive, Joey, and just so many more people. And I want people to understand, until you actually draft a team yourself, you build every single week, and you balance your personal life with your internet life.
Yeah.
You can't mash it together perfectly unless you can work online the rest of your life, which some people can do, which is awesome for them, which means they have a lot more time. But you got people like me, who I work a job roughly 3 to 4 days a week, roughly between 5 to 8 hours a week. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I get times where I don't want to build my team. I don't want to prep.
Yep.
Also, hello to Cat.
I got a cat. You're good.
Do that. But
I love it.
And then for people to go like, oh, I would have done this totally better, or like, oh, this is the wrong play. Why'd you make this play? Like, oh man, it's not the Mon's fault. It's your fault. Like, you can't just assume everything. Like, you're just basically trying to say you're better. You would have known this. But until you're in that moment, and until you actually play the game yourself, you can't just be like, if it's constructive criticism and it's worded correctly, then it's not the biggest deal in the world. But if you're going to say it like you want to be a jerk about it, then you just basically are showing that you have no class. And honestly, you don't deserve to be a draft league player if you're just going to be critiquing whether it is. But there are some good pros, though. Like the Cat returns again. But one of the biggest all-time pros about draft league is obviously a great example with you guys, friendship. A friendship just grows super instantly quick. Like, you guys have my buddy Obo on the show. I've actually known Obo for about 9 years coming this year.
Oh, wow.
Along with John Jr.
That's awesome.
Those guys in a really old league. I'm pretty sure they probably forget this league, but it was a league called All In No Quit. Random name for it, I won't lie, but I got to beat someone with a Kecleon, so it was kind of good for that. But I met up with those guys. We just chilled and hang out, and honestly, it just felt like brothers, man. It was we purposely would just make up leagues just so we could play against each other all the time.
Yeah,
and it
beautiful.
was really, really fun. And a fun fact is that Obo has never beaten me, and I'm like 9-0.
No way! Oh man, we gotta tease him with that. We gotta hold that over him.
And then when it came to John, for the longest time, he smoked my ass all the time, and I lost a lot to him. And eventually, recently in this JJDL Civil War season he did, I faced him week 1. So it was a big week 1, but I knew how he played. I knew exactly how he was going to prep, and that's one of the kind of a good thing and a bad thing when you're going to be friends with. You just know how he's going to build because you've watched him a lot. And I got a 6-0 smash with Spanky the Annihilate. So it was like finally a beat him moment type of thing. But it was all just meant for joke and fun. And I love John. He's a great father. He's a great guy. And he's definitely one of the top 10 best battlers out there. 100%.
That's awesome.
I love that.
And,
that's amazing.
One of the other great things about... go ahead.
I was just going to say, I do think it's so funny how there are certain people, like, it's the same in our draft. Like, they're just friends that you have that, for some reason, they just got your, like, it's like they know your mind somehow.
Dude, we got some good rivalries, dude. It's always like, doesn't matter how good one person is, it's just like there might be that one matchup you just can't. You can't beat them. Yeah, it's fun.
It's mind games. I love it.
And one of the great things about, and this is one of the main things I do want people to get involved with when it comes to draft, is just trying out the Pokemon. Like, there was a longest time I hated Klefki, and I felt like Klefki was just bad in draft. And I used it, changed my complete perspective on it. Love the Pokemon. It's got a lot more versatility. Shoutouts to J-Bear for Store Power Klefki, or it was someone else with that.
Interesting.
That was such a really cool set. Eventually, I learned to enjoy using Pokemon, get better at Pokemon. I eventually found out there were Pokemon I didn't like Dragapult. Dragapult, if you see this, you are bad. You don't
Really?
care what people say.
I don't care.
I got the hateful comments. The algorithm is going to succeed for this video now. But yeah, it's just like you learn the ins and outs with so many Pokemon. It's really cool and it's really awesome. And since my cat won't say it knowing me, say hello, cat.
Hi, cat.
And then,
Cutie.
it's just Draft League is as a whole. It's one of those love-hate relationships. There are times you will love it to death, and there's the times you're going to hate because you know all the things you're going to hate are coming from either other people or yourself sometimes. Because that's a big thing that a lot of people don't understand is that sometimes we beat ourselves up. Like with me, I lost a Wi-Fi championship because I have a misclick. And to this day, it was a misclick that literally cost me the game. And to this day, is still one of those haunting losses I have because I had the championship literally in my hand. And it just for it to slip like that, it hurt. But, one of the good things that eventually I've been doing this is I've learned to take those bad beats and just acknowledge it. Like, not really a recent, but kind of like around less than a year or so, I faced off. There was a league called the SDA, which I don't know if you guys know about. It's run by 8 Raider.
Okay.
So I made it the finals in that league against a guy who I beat in the regular season. I had really good prep against his booster speed Iron Boulder, and he came back with phenomenal prep against me in the finals. And honestly, I got out prepped. I also did a little bit of misprep with my Okie Dokie, but honestly, the dude out prepped me. And you know what? I lost that finals, so it was my third finals loss of Wi-Fi. But honestly, I was proud for the guy. He played and prepped amazing.
Yeah.
Knew how to prep my team, and I admit it was a good bad beat. Like I can't just say he got lucky. He 100% won that clean, fair, and was just a good batch too. Like. Yeah. That's the best thing. Like you get some of the best battles out there. I have a lot of my personal favorite battles out there that I'm so happy about. Some I wish I didn't have to play and didn't play those people, but I'm just gonna always remember some of the best battles out there.
That's awesome, man.
That's cool.
I love that. So that's great advice to kind of give the newcomers to kind of know, what to expect, what to kind of prepare for, and and the thing is I think it's one of those things that because draft is so accessible, there's definitely certain, like you said, like a courtesy and just general culture, like draft culture thing norms that we all need to be aware of. Like you said, the criticism aspect, everybody kind of needs to just take a step back and say like, well, hold on, get in the seat first before you start making any comments about how things should be done. Take a leap of and kind of, because the thing is, it's so hard. Like I remember when we first jumped into it for like the first season and things like that, and there's still things that we're learning, right? I learned for the first time that Trick Room was a -7 priority. In one of it was a playoffs match, and it was the one that I was needing to move forward, and I relied on Trick Room. Did not realize it was -7 priority. It screwed me over. So it's one of those things where it's just like you learn and you laugh at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie. When I had a Meowstic, I thought Trick Room with Prankster was going to be broken. Nope, it's not.
You're like, wait a second. It goes from +7 to +6 in the priority bracket.
That's how it's work, Game Freak. Also, give us an item and expand Trick Room turns, please.
Oh, so
yes.
I know you've been watching us do our stream of our run through of Elite Redux, and I think probably 3 or 4 times now it's come in my head where I'm like, is there like a Trick Room I'm like, I've like literally searched like 4 times. I'm like, there's not an item, right? I'm like, nothing extends Trick Room. And every time I confirm that there is indeed not an item that extends Trick Room, I'm like, why is there not an item that extends Trick Room?
It only exists in fan games, for God's sake.
I know. Yeah, it's
full.
Yeah, I mean, with Trick Room, you got to have like the extra few turns to make it like actually really, really viable. Just the 5 to the even 7 or 8 turns would make a big difference. But anyways,
yeah. Kind of moving back into your kind of content of specifically this year, you're looking at doing a lot of power rankings and really analyzing kind of in each of your draft leagues that you're participating in, who's doing well, kind of which week, and who like has kind of like specific advantages over others and things like that. And I'm just kind of curious, what things are you looking for in your teams and in the other coaches' teams in your draft, and like how do you decide? And what helps you decide these rankings? Like, is it moveset? Is it a lot of time how Mons have done over the course of time? I'm just kind of curious, like, what are you using kind of for your criteria?
So the way I would like if I was ranking if the way I personally draft, just to kind of give an example, I kind of just don't care what I get. I just want to get some fun stuff, and
Yeah.
I still want to fill out some specific roles because I know that if I don't have those roles, I get absolutely jacked up by one type. So, but I overall just try to have some fun. I'm along with Joey. Even if not even in Gen 9, I really think hazard removal is. I don't think anyone really needs hazard removal. Like I would say, if you need to make sure you draft one, I say it's fair. But I don't think you really need it. I once got a 6-0 sweep with a drift blimp, and they had stealth rocks and sticky webs up my team. They couldn't beat the damn balloons, so it was just one of those things. Like I think it's my playstyle is also just a lot of random, and also I won't lie, I draft a lot of mons I have set up, and I almost bring a damn setup move on every single Pokemon I bring. So it's kind of the gimmick, but hey, I go almost undefeated a whole season because no one can stop it, even if they don't run mirror. And the one time they do, I don't bring setup, so I trick them. But when it comes to these rankings, because what's funny about the BBR rankings, to kind of just give an example, I never was really thinking about doing rankings, but I kind of always had these ideas of maybe what I wanted to do with them. But I decided, I got my friends coming in right now, and they're doing it, and just for some reason I had the itch, and I feel like, I was going to have, I was on my verge of my break eventually, I think it was too, or it was somewhere in between there or something like that. And I was like, you know what? I want to do something. If I can't be, because I don't have the proper technology to actually be able to record Wi-Fi, which I know a lot of people are waiting for the day to happen. It'll happen one day. I just need the time. I also got to get another Switch to do that because the Switch Lite doesn't work without Gato. Thanks, Elgato. But I eventually just got, you know what? I want to be able to do something for my guys and get them some love, get them some shine, and that's where I did the whole thing. And how I want to personally break down the teams is that I want to make sure that if your first round pick is synergized well with a good couple of pieces, where they're bulky, support, all these types of things, it's really what I'm looking for. And I will critique, even if it's Gen 9, and even though I said, hazard removal is an issue, not needed, I think making sure you have a good, reliable option for it is still a good requirement for a good team. If you're relying on Magic Bounce to be your removal, I don't think that's good. I really think you've got some problems if that's your main rate removal. Because Espeon is the worst defogger and rapid spinner you'll ever have in your life for that reason. But and then I just kind of looked down the teams, with my buddy John. He said this was that BBR team was one of his worst drafts ever. I looked at it. He had Annihilape, he had Latios, he had Weavile, he had so many great Pokemon. He had Andy Shocks with some good spikes and Stealth Rock support. He just had all these pieces. He had things like Manaphy for a while, and they were just fantastic Pokemon. He had such good synergy, good bulk support, and everything. And it was just a great Pokemon. And then, with BBL, Vepsis, you look at that man's team. Yeah, he has only one spinner, which is Sereno Sniper, but you look at the defense he's got, the offense he's got with it, the support he has with it. Everything is perfect to a T about his team that I love. He's got the best Terra Captains he could have got for his team. Because Rhydon, underrated. One of the best flow players after him. I don't want anyone dissing my boy Rhydon. And then obviously WT, which has been prone to be an amazing Terra Captain in high tiers. When I just look at these teams, I'm looking for if everything's coming together, if everything's fitting the pieces of the puzzle of everything, and it's not going to fall back. Like my boy Obo, I gave him a 5 on his team when he first started because there was nothing that did anything with it. It had some bulk that didn't make sense. It had no hazards besides Stealth Rocks with a Scream Tail and a Groudon, even though Groudon has spikes. The spikes on Groudon, you really don't want to be clicking Choice Band, just funny button every week. For real. And then also, he just didn't have any pieces to support the Sun. Obviously, he doesn't need to go full Sun team, but he needed the pieces. Raging Bolt should not be your only piece to take advantage. Also, Rillaboom paired with Groudon was really weird. Just a lot of things about his team was bad. He eventually upgraded his team because I've seen what his team has looked like come week 5. There'll be no spoilers, so no one try to bribe me in the comment section. But he definitely upgraded his team to an 8th when coming week 5 because he definitely fixed the big holes he needed. And it's just overall a lot better for the team. But yeah, I've honestly have just enjoyed doing these rankings. It's been a lot of fun.
It's fun.
Season requires hour-long videos for each time, so it's sitting in a chair for an hour looking at these guys and going this, that, and just
this, that. Yeah,
it's a lot. But I've enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun. I've been getting a lot of great traction views around it, which is awesome. The support, just in general, has been absolutely amazing. I want to just
that's amazing.
does that, and I'll especially thank you guys, and I know you guys check it out too.
For sure. No, it's fun.
And it's just been awesome, and I definitely want to keep eventually doing them from time to time.
Yeah. No, it makes for fun content. The analytical stuff is really fun, and I think it does help people to, like, again, I think for those who are trying to get into Draft League, it does kind of help put them in that mindset of okay, what generally works, like what can I expect when building teams, and what works, in that kind of sense. But another thing I noticed is this is the video you posted most recently, is the JJDL Ubers.
Yep.
Fun tournament style, but in this instance, you get to use all the crazy fun OP legendaries. In regards to that, are there any Pokemon that have stood out to you? And then tell us more about that format in regards to like the Terra points as well, and how you would recommend effectively using them, and how that kind of differs from your traditional draft format.
Okay, thank God it was a Terra question, because I have been really wanting to get this out of my chest.
Terra. So, get the Terra stuff out too.
First of all, I'll explain what this season. So basically, JJDL is doing something that BBR has done, which is the Summer Scramble, which is you draft 8 mons, tournament pools, you go to brackets. So John wanted to do this for BBL because he's been getting into the Ubers, and he probably wanted to learn more about the Ubers format and play and stuff like that. And he wanted to get his community involved because John's a really big guy with his community. He absolutely loves getting everyone involved. That's why he even created his own league, which went on 4 seasons now. We're going to be coming to season 5 eventually here soon. But with this one, we kind of did about BBL tiers, slight tearing downs or ups potentially on some things. But some of the Ubers that have just stood up to me, obviously things like Rayquaza are really awesome. Zamazenta's, Zacian especially, which probably was barely allowed in my opinion, because that I had to face that in today, and goddamn, that thing got to +5. It almost would have swept me. If I missed the Thunder Wave, I was smoked by the dog, because that's what the dog was doing. And it's just one of those things where you're playing, because I used to play Ubers a decent amount in a league that Dashing Sceptile ran on Showdown, where you can grab as many Ubers as you want, honestly, which I think that was how not a good way to run Ubers, because that was wasting a lot of your point budget. You're going super top heavy, and you're having to rely on all your Ubers to face these threats. I think what BBL does is a great thing where you get 1 or 2 Ubers max, and then just have a good team support build around it, which is really good. Because there's just less slept on mons when it comes to Uber spammers. Shout out to Seabat, who's called Fable, pulling it all the way back there. Like that just goes to show you that a mon can beat the fraud allegations, unlike Spectre. But it's just one of those things where it's really cool. Like some Ubers that I think that went undrafted were kind of shocking was Reshiram. I can kind of see why people would say, it's not a great Uber because you got to run boots every single week. As someone that drafted kind of like a Rain Sun team with both having Reshiram under Sun and then having a Kyogres for a Rain aspect of the team, I think if you get the proper team support, things like Reshiram are so dangerous. Like mons like Zekrom are also very threatening, and just a lot of great things out there. Now it comes to Terra part. Now, what I think with High Tier now being like the pretty much new main format that people are going to be doing, because I've seen some leagues that go back to the normal, you get this many captains for this price point, or you get 1 or 2 tappings that can just only free Terra, or just like a few Tyro types. I have personally seen that I really only want 1 Terra captain. I think when you prep for multiple, especially free Terra, it is really hard. And especially
it's really hard,
when you're drafting your Terra captains. Like, I had Terra Cresselia and like another Terramon. I kept leaning towards Cresselia most of the time because it's Cresselia. It should not be allowed to do that. And I figured, it's fine. Let's just do it. So it's like I only wanted Terra my Cresselia versus another mon that could Terra very beneficially. So I think the way leagues really need to start doing it, I really think 1 Terra captain is the most you should have, because you're going to be able to have that option to use it, where I'm not going to use another Terra captain because I'd rather use this super high tier one I have versus this low tier I'm going to have with it. Like, I just don't see the value of having the second Terra captain. Now I'm stuck with just 1, which I think is one of those things that's kind of like the good and bad. So I think personally for leagues going forward, whether it's not even BBL or something like that, I think 1 Terra captain should be the way, because especially if it's free Terra, you don't really know. Now, if you're going to do Terra with multiple captains and you're going to do Terra types, I would then say 2 at max, but 1 Terra captain should be the main way going forward.
Okay. Yeah,
makes sense.
I can definitely see that. Terra is such an interesting dilemma to have, especially with these, with trying to fit it into the new, seasons for things like that. And so I definitely love that insight and trying to see how can we balance this feature that's that's really interesting, but also extremely overpowered if not regulated.
Yeah.
So, oh man, this is a great conversation. I just have to make a shout out really quick to earlier as I was we were prepping for the interview. I was reviewing some of your videos, and I just gotta say, you were chatting one of the videos about the what's better, like bullet punch or sucker punch, and you went to be like between the niches of like which choice between the two in one of the videos I was watching, and I was just like, this is a level I have never thought about, and it's opened my eyes to really what opportunities there are and how awesome you know your craft. So I just gotta give you a shout out before we move on to the next round of our interview, which is our rapid fire round. So this is kind of a fun, just kind of quick questions off the top of your head answers kind of deal. We have just about 5 questions for you, and then we'll move into our shower thoughts and kind of wrap up our chat. So the first rapid fire question that we have for you is: with all your seasons of draft, who has been your favorite draft pick?
Dracovic, hands down. Mr.
Dracovic, yeah.
I've won with 10 championships. He's been on 5, and he's gotten 3 of those championship titles.
Wow.
Dang.
Okay.
That's amazing.
I respect it. Yeah, did we, Logan, do you know if we banned Dracovic in one of the seasons or not?
Because so in our league we give each player 2 bans
just for fun. Knock some stuff out.
Fun to knock it. And I'm pretty sure Dracovic has been banned.
I think before. At least one season. I think one of our guys, Sam, Boys Are Bach in Town is his team name. I think he used it really well one season, and the next season his brother's in the league, and I think his brother used one of his bans to ban the Dracovic. So that's the other reason we do that, is to like mess with each other. But okay.
I mean, I would say right behind Dracovic is Extra Gel. When I first used Sand once, fucking loved it. Absolutely. Yeah. And every time I've drafted Sand, never missed playoffs.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
I am the Sand master. I am Gaara from Naruto.
It's amazing.
I think Sand is an underrated one. I think it makes rock Pokemon. Obviously, it boosts them up, but it's just one of those things where it just makes rock Pokemon so much fun to use. Rock and ground and all that stuff. Like
also, count on best Sand setter. No one listens to No one listens to T-Tard. No one listens to that.
Yeah,
I agree. Actually,
Sand.
Hippo's a menace. I love it so much.
The combo of being able to get rocks and get whirlwind is pretty fun. Sweet. Next rapid fire question we have is: in your opinion, what is the best held item? And this could be your definition of best. This is according to Thriller 96.
This has kind of been a staple that I like to use a lot, and I think honestly, not a lot of people use it a lot. It's weakness policy. Yeah, in my opinion, when you have the right mon in the right set, it pops. Like I used Excadrill against a rain team. They brought like maybe minimal rain, and I didn't even bring Sand. I brought Drill by himself. I ran Iron Defense against a Body Press on Avalugg, got my Rapid Spin buff, and got my SD off, followed then by my Weakness Policy, and then
game over.
Smoked through all of them.
Yep.
And just Weakness Policy, I think it was one of those, like, you always have to, like, fear as, like, is it Weakness Policy? Like, I was watching one of Ellie's videos, like, she was scared of Weakness Policy Ting-Lu because of Viz and his strats with it. So it's like,
that's fun.
You have to fear Weakness Policy almost in every single mon, which is awesome.
That's cool. I think that's a good one where it's like, you said, it's the mind games. You either hit them, you don't kill them, you give them the boost, or it's the mind games of like, I don't want to hit them with a super effective move because I know they have weakness policies. It almost functions like a staving them off from using something that they would otherwise normally use. So 100%. It's cool.
That's cool. And what is your favorite Pokemon type, and which Pokemon in that type is your favorite?
Electric, hands down. Best typing ever.
Okay.
Right? And now, I would say in terms of probably just Pokemon, I mean, you guys, I think, heard me say about my team name, but it's got to be my baby Jolteon. Like,
beautiful.
Ever since XD, I have always used Jolteon. In every main series Pokemon game I do, I'm always grabbing that Thunderstone. It's just, I looked back because I was thinking of my one time, like, what do I want as my mascot for my channel? Because I never thought about a mascot until at one point. And I was trying to look back at my childhood and kind of what it is, and then just kept thinking to myself, like, oh, I keep using Jolteon a lot. I kind of like it. Electric typing, my favorite. Fits. And so my boy Frill Shock Jolteon has just been an absolute pleasure, and I've loved using him ever since.
I love that. I think Jolteon. Umbreon's my favorite evolution, but Jolteon is high up there for me as well because I think Jolteon is it's a fantastic design, and honestly, it could do some major damage too if you're not careful.
I
That thing's
actually
a
had a
nut.
really cool Jolteon set in a low tier league I did where I was trying to remember what it was. I think it was like a fully FizzDef set with Calm Mind, and I ran Calm Mind Weakness Policy. I got hit with Earth Power and ran Store Power with it, and it almost swept. It almost did. It was so close, but I got that set to get at least one kill, and I popped off from that because it was like one of the best Jolteon spreads I ever made.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. I love that so much.
So for our next question, we got a couple more for you. What is your favorite Pokemon soundtrack? Route,
Ooh.
Champion, Gym, anything.
God, the most difficult question a Pokemon fan can answer.
I know. It really is. It really
There's
is.
a lot of good tracks, man. Like, oh, God. I'm a massive fan of Gen 4 because Gen 4 is my favorite gen. My favorite game is Platinum, and that will never change. I will say Scarlet Violet almost beat Platinum. It was very, very close.
It's really good. I
Very,
really
very
like
close.
it.
Platinum,
Yeah.
that nostalgia from Platinum, from beating that game like 100 times, like,
Yeah.
you can't beat that. So I would say Platinum has definitely up there, and obviously Scarlet and Violet. I mean, none of the music misses. Like the
Yeah.
freaking Paradox
it
theme,
hits so
Area
hard.
Zero,
Area Zero, yep.
the Professor theme. Wow, God.
Well,
Like,
they bumped it up in the DLC. They didn't let up. All the Kitakami,
DLC
the
slaps
Loyal
too.
3, the Ogrepon theme, the Carmine battle theme. Like, it's all hit.
Nothing was a miss. Pokemon just keeps stepping it up every single way. Just make sure it's not Ed Sheeran so you don't get copyright claim.
True. Good point. Good point.
All right, our last rapid fire question for you is: in your opinion, who is the best draft player?
Well, I wonder if I did an interview with that guy. I would definitely say it's Joey. I mean, you've seen how
awesome.
he builds his team every single week with the EVs and spreads he does. I mean, he's been doing it for so long. Like,
Mhm.
he's probably one of the oldest players to ever do it. That's still active. Obviously, he took a break from Draft League when the timer situation was coming an issue, and no one wanted to do land timer because fuck land timer. But eventually, I would definitely see some other good players, like John's up there for me for sure. Kelly under the radar, fantastic player. A-Drive will still be up there because he was one of the big staples. And I got my man Vepsis in there. He's one of the toughest guys to face. Someone that's faced him twice, actually. And I've beaten him even once, too, which is really nice. It was a super clean win as well. Obviously, got to throw Madison. She's one of the best, staples in the women's draft league. That's
cool.
The queen herself, and also got to give the shots because it's thanks to people like her that give Ellie and Daria the chance to really step up and really show these men how it's done in draft league. So
that's amazing.
My number one is still going to be Joey.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I love that. Good shout outs there. All right. We're going to move into our shower thoughts. So now this is kind of like if you were to live in the Pokemon world, like we're in the anime world, right? And just kind of like those kind of questions of like what if Pokemon were real? What if these kind of things, right? The ones you have in the shower, just throughout your day, whatever it might be. And the first one we have here is going to be if you got to attend a TED Talk from one of the Pokemon professors about their research, which would you choose? And I have them right here just so you can kind of know the topics. So we have Professor Oak, which is Pokemon and human relationships. Professor Elm, which is Pokemon breeding. Professor Birch, which is Pokemon habitats. Professor Rowan, which is Pokemon evolution and form changes. Professor Juniper is Pokemon origins. Professor Sycamore is Mega Evolution. Kukui is Pokemon Moves. Magnolia is Dynamax Pokemon. Sonia is the history of Galar. And then you have Sada and Turo, which is the paradox phenomenon, ancient and future accordingly.
Oh, so for me, the top three from that list, I gotta definitely say Oak, because Oak's the OG. Everyone
Yeah.
Oak. Then there's Rowan, because obviously Rowan from Gen 4 family here. And I don't think you can make a top three without the new professors. Like, they got the massive blow up in their designs, too. Like,
they're cool.
that they even weren't there. They were robots. Like,
they were dead the whole time. Spoiler.
The game's been out for 2 years.
I know. We joke about that. It's just like if you don't know, it's just funny.
If I had to pick from those three, I honestly think learning about past and future would be so dope. I think I'm gonna go with Gen
Yeah.
9's professors, like because like you saw what the Paradox Pokemon looked like and what they de-evolved or evolved to as time went on. Like they're just some of the most badass designed Pokemon we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like it just gives you the idea, like, wait, could this be what future Pokemon actually kind of look like in terms of?
I know.
Because like Iron Valley is one of the biggest poster boys for what could happen when you actually take the fusion of two Pokemon and
It's so cool.
and it's one of the best things out there. So I would definitely say Gen 9 for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Super cool.
Good shout out on the Iron Valley. I know shiny hunting in the modern games isn't too crazy compared to the older ones, but that was immediately the first Pokemon I shiny hunted after I beat the game, and I EV trained it up. Yeah, Iron Valley is just a phenomenal
Mine was
design.
a random
There you go. There you go. Sometimes you don't pick the shiny; they pick you.
especially when you pick 12 of them.
Oh, there you go. I like oh man, when I was doing the DLC, I think it was the first section of the DLC with the Loyal 3 and Ogerpon, the Teal Mask. I was like not necessarily hunting, but I was like kind of going out of my way to like just see if I could just get something shiny. And I remember one I specifically hunted was a Yanma. It took me a little bit, but I got the blue Yanma, and then it evolves into like the navy blue Yanmega. Looks really good. And then I was going around and I found within 20 minutes 2 shiny Delibirds. And I'm like,
wow.
You know what? It's shiny. Screw it. I'm gonna try and make it viable. And it's like the one because when I play the games, I play them casually. But I'm like, I'm gonna EV train this one to like make it good, and it still sucks.
I guess you couldn't keep it shady.
I couldn't keep it shady. I know.
That's
I know.
funny. When I was doing the DLC as well, when it first dropped, I was actually doing a lot of just catching the Pokedex because I wasn't much of a completer. I was never there.
Oh, same. Yeah.
For some reason, like in like Kitakami from Arceus completed the Dex.
That's
when
awesome.
It came to Generation 8 completed the Dex. And then Gen 9 pretty much made the game, but then completed the Dex. And when I was starting the DLC, I did like the first things and I think the Carmen battle. I didn't do anything else besides doing it. Like 80% of the time was catching the Pokemon. And I completed like around 60 to 70% of the Dex before I just started, oh yeah, there's story. Let's go do that. And I found a full-on shiny Luxio.
Nice.
Very awesome,
cool. Very, very cool.
That's so cool.
Well, last question we got for you before we wrap things up is, so speaking of, we just brought up Arceus, with the upcoming release of Legends ZA, what do you think the starters will be first? And second, what different form would you give to their final evolution? Because obviously Typhlosion got the ghost typing, Decidueye the fighting, so on and so forth, Samurott the water dark.
Oh, that's tough. I feel like it would somewhat make sense to make it Pokemon that did Mega Evolve. Like, that would, to me, would make sense. Yeah. But I wouldn't discount Pokemon doing exactly what they did with Legends Arceus and going 3 complete random Pokemon. Like, there are definitely some Pokemon that I think do need some Megas to make them a little more viable. Like, obviously in fan games, we see the Megas for the Johto starters. Now, obviously, Feraligatr and Meganium, decent shouts for those things. Gen 4, don't think any Gen 4s would be there. Gen 5 got, obviously, with Samurott, so I wouldn't be surprised to see something for Gen 5 as well. Gen 6, probably not. Gen 7, maybe, no guaranteed. Gen 8, they have the Dynamax form, which is basically their Mega Evolution, so I'm seeing probably a combination between probably Gen 2 and maybe 5, because I wouldn't be surprised. Because let's see, actually, it would be not mad at Gen 7 because Rowlet was from Gen 7, so I could see another one of those things where it's one of the random 3. But who knows? Pokemon could throw off the curveball. I could see something like Chimchar, Swampert, and Trico. Just those 3 random. Something like that.
That'd be awesome. Those are cool. Awesome. Well, hey, we really appreciate you, again, taking some time out of your evening, afternoon to chat with us. It's a pleasure. Like Logan said, we've been wanting to do this for a bit. Love the analysis, the vibes, the energy, the knowledge that you bring to the community. Before we sign off, we want you to do a couple things. We do this with all of our guests. We want you to go ahead and plug your channel. Of course, we'll include everything in the description for our subs, for our viewers. But go ahead, plug your channel, what you have planned, maybe some stuff you have in the pipeline, stuff that you're working on, stuff that you're participating in, any teasers. And then go ahead and close us off again with some nuggets of wisdom. And that can be about life, that can be about Draft League, it can be about Pokemon, literally whatever you want. Just leave us with some wisdom for the people.
All right, so for the plug, definitely if you guys like Pokemon content, I have been doing this for around almost 10 years now on the platform.
Yeah.
We're coming up on the 10-year anniversary this upcoming year, which is crazy.
Amazing.
I've got so many years of experience. I've gotten a chance to battle some of the best in the game. I've had the opportunity to do much, and I overall just like making Pokemon videos. I kind of do my own podcast videos, but I haven't really been on top of those lately since life gets involved, and then you kind of just switch around. So I'm eventually going to try to get into more of those type of videos, whether it's people from BBL or just people I have friends with. Try to do these cool new little fun series and just do a lot of competitive Pokemon, because I would think if people want to get into Pokemon, you definitely want to watch a lot of people. If you're one that likes the stuff I do, I definitely appreciate it. Definitely, and I just like to bring fun. I just like to bring smiles to your faces and stuff like that. If the fact that I teach you something and give you knowledge is really great. I remember they did a cool promo video like Uzi does for his finish the story stuff, and it was really fun to just do that type of style. And I just want to show people that some moms are not as bad as people say they are. I want to show people
I love that.
Stuff like that. I want to knowledge-wise. But for any tips of wisdom before we head off here, one of the biggest things I've always stated to myself is that I'd rather see people happy because that makes me happy. If someone was on the street and I had tickets to something that they really wanted to see, they were sad and they felt like this was the end for them, it was a heartbreaking moment, I'd be willing to sacrifice that ticket so they can go see it. Because if I can make you smile, whether it's through my content, my personality, my jokes, or whatever, and I can help bring that out of you, especially if you watch a video or just see me, I'm just glad I can be that joy of life, man, because I'd rather see you all smile. Seeing people smile is what matters more to me, which is why when it comes to the Pokemon community, and I've donated probably around $5,000 or so across the platform, it's just people deserve their flowers. People deserve to show they were inspiration for a lot of people, and obviously supporting your fellow bros. I know I supported John. He was absolutely flabbergasted by the amount of money I sent to him. Same with Obo, Joey,
awesome.
Owen, Joey, and all them. It's just I love being that person that helped bring a smile and bring you out of your darkness, and just I'm glad to just be a good positive figure for a lot of people. And if some people don't like me, well, guess what? I don't care. I don't know you. Stranger danger. Overall, I just want everyone to remember you got to be happy, and the only way you make yourself happy is by spreading love and joy, man. You can't just be miserable the rest of your life. You just got to be that positive impact for somebody.
Love that.
I love that.
Beautiful, beautiful
amazing.
Message. Positive, beautiful message. Again, we appreciate that. We appreciate those nuggets of wisdom. Appreciate everything you brought to the table for us. We've been doing this with some people as well. We'd love to have you back on down the line. It's an open door policy. We'd love to get 100%. Thriller back on the channel with us. Again, for everyone listening out there, we'll go ahead and plug everything for him. Please go check out his content. He's pumping stuff out, putting out some great Pokemon content. And as for us, we're going to continue to do our thing with our interviews, some of our other reactions, and of course, our live streams of our current Nuzlocke run, Soul Link of Pokemon Elite Redux. It's a party. Try and do that a couple times a week. But until next time, this is Josh, Logan, and Thriller with Skill Link signing out.